Ja, hallöchen everyone. I'm C and I'm from Germany. Over the past 4 weeks, I have guided you through German Advent season. I've shown you how Germans light a candle on each of the 4 Sundays of Advent before Christmas and how they count down the days until Christmas with their Advent calendars. I've also visited Christmas markets to share the special atmosphere with you. I've even managed to find the time to squeeze in a short video about marzipan in the Advent bakery. And now we've reached the grand finale. It's finally Christmas. In German, we call it Weihnachten. Wei for holy and Nacht for night, holy night. But has Christmas in Europe always been celebrated on Christmas Day? And which Christmas tradition that you observe today originated in Germany? Let's find out. This time, I'm not sure who to address the disclaimer to. It's going to be difficult to talk about Christmas without mentioning Christianity, and I might even touch on a few things that could be offensive to Christians. As always, though, I'm just trying to provide as much background information as possible. Sounds good? Ready for what might be the most un-Christmassy Christmas video of the day? Okay, let's start. As already mentioned in my video about the start of Carnival, pagan customs have been integrated into the Christian calendar, and this also applies for Christmas. Pre-Christian customs were so deeply ingrained in the population that they had to be adopted to recruit people to the Christian faith, or were simply adopted to win people over. For example, Christmas is the winter solstice. Jesus must have been born around the spring equinox, but celebrating Christ's birth as the light entering a dark world makes perfect sense for the winter solstice. The shortest day and longest night of the year in Europe, hence the end of the dark days. Many Advent customs have no real connection to faith, such as the evergreen plants associated with the winter solstice, which ultimately led to the Christmas tree. Roman, Celtic, and Germanic customs included evergreen plants as symbols of fertility and vitality at the winter solstice. They represented the victory of life and light over death and darkness and became symbols of eternal life through Christ. Germanic tribes hung winter Maien in their homes. These were decorated fir or spruce branches. They also served as protection against winter spirits, and their smell could frighten spirits. But what came before Christmas before it became Christmas? 2 customs can be mentioned. The Roman festival Saturnalia and the Rauhnächte, the 12 nights, based on the Germanic and Celtic traditions. The Roman festival Saturnalia, in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture at the winter solstice, celebrated the end of the dark days. It evolved into a multi-day festival and a reversal of social hierarchies, a mixture of today's Christmas and Carnival. And the Rauhnächte, the 12 nights based on Germanic and Celtic traditions. We're talking about the 12 nights between Christmas and Epiphany on January the 6th. The lunar year is shorter than the solar year. 365 days in the solar year versus 354. 12 nights have fallen out of time. Each night is assigned to a month, the first night to January, and so on. It is a mystical and spiritual time of transition. The laws of nature are suspended, and thus there are no boundaries to other worlds. So it's time for rituals and folk customs. Pause and find peace and prepare for the coming year. Taking stock, letting go of the old and focusing on new goals. Rituals such as fumigation to drive away evil spirits with frankincense, myrrh, and mugwort. Divination, dreams, weather, and events of each night were interpreted to predict the coming year. The Rauhnächte still exist today and are a topic in themselves. So let's jump from here to medieval times when Christmas was already firmly established as a public festival. Christmas markets, processions, and nativity plays took place in the streets and in churches. The family Christmas celebration as we know it today with the Christmas tree and festive meal has only existed for about 150 years. During the Enlightenment, Public processions and even the setting up of nativity scenes were banned in many places because the authorities saw them as signs of superstition. For those of you not familiar with the Enlightenment, put simply, the Enlightenment was an intellectual movement in the 18th century that focused on human reason in order to overcome ignorance and superstition. Thus, Christmas customs shifted to the private sphere. Over the course of the 19th century, Christmas evolved into a family celebration for middle-class families and looks like this in Germany today. Christmas celebration with family, including Christmas tree, Christmas carols, gifts, dinner, and attending a church service. There are 2 church services, the Christmas Vespers with nativity scenes in the afternoon and the Christmas Mass at midnight. I, for the first time in my life, attended Christmas Mass at midnight this year. I guess it's fair to also talk about people without families. Nightclubs are open on Christmas Eve and it is a valid option. Let's talk about the Christmas tree. Did you know that your tradition of putting up a Christmas tree originated in Germany? It developed from the pagan custom of decorating fir branches. I already spoke about Wintermayen earlier. The belief was too deeply rooted in the people, so the evergreen branches became a symbol for the paradise tree whose fruit Eve and Adam ate. The first report of a decorated tree in a baker's guild with baked goods, fruit and nuts dates back to 1419. The first public Christmas tree was documented in Strasbourg in 1539. The city was originally German, but now belongs to France. The Christmas tree became popular during the Reformation. That's the time in the early 16th century where the Christian church split into Catholic and Protestant. Trees were primarily for the wealthy. The general population continued to make do with branches. The church resisted the Christmas tree for a very long time. It is considered more of a bourgeois symbol. As for the candles on the tree, there are stories of Martin Luther, the reformer in the 16th century, who went on a winter walk and saw starlight twinkling through tree branches and recreated the effect at home using candles. It is said that Duchess Dorothea Sibylla of Silesia began decorating her tree with candles in 1611. The Christmas tree ornament you use to decorate your tree also comes from Germany, more precisely from Thüringen. Legend has it that the poor glassblower invented the Christmas tree ornament because he couldn't afford expensive nuts and apples. Out of necessity, he decorated his Christmas tree with hand-blown balls and other glass ornaments. However, glass actually was also really expensive at that time, so it's more likely that the Christmas tree ornament originated with the glass-blowing tradition in Lauscha. An order book in Thüringen from 1848 records the first order for Christmas tree ornaments. The Christmas tree ornament has been recognized as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage since 2018. And there is lametta. For you, it's called tinsel. In 1878, Franconian wire manufacturers had the idea of producing thin metallic wires, that's Leonian wire, for Christmas tree decorations, which quickly spread as the first industrially manufactured Christmas tree decorations. Once super popular, but due to safety concerns and lower demand to new products, production in Germany stopped in 2015. And how did the Christmas tree achieve its worldwide triumph? It was spread throughout the world by immigrants. Now, to the most important question. When is the gift giving? Originally, the gift giving took place after Christmas Mass on the night of December 24th to 25th. Since children couldn't stay up that late, the gift giving was then moved to the evening of December 24th. That's why we give our gifts on Christmas Eve and not like other nationalities on Christmas Day. Which leads us to the second most important question. Who brings the presents? And drumroll, that is the Christkind. Now, what is the Christkind? Martin Luther, not to be confused with Martin Luther King from the Civil Rights Movement in the US of A. Martin Luther, the man himself, the one and only father of Reformation, founder of Protestantism. The monk who felt it was massively unfair to hold Mass only in Latin when the people did not understand a single word. The monk who considered it godless to sell indulgences at exorbitant prices to people to absolve them of their sins, while the church earned a fortune. The man who was branded a heretic had to flee and then secretly translated the Bible from Latin to German. No, we are not Protestants because a king wanted to divorce his beloved wife, as happened in another European country. We are Protestants because people wanted a better life for people. To be fair, however, it must be said that for a very long time after the Reformation, the elector, originally there were 7 who appointed the king, but more on that another time, determined his religion, and all people in his electorate had to convert to his religion. And that's why we have the religious division in many regions. If you're all sad now that you're Catholic, don't you worry. The Protestant church also has its fair share of dirt on the stick. But Martin Luther did not only translate the Bible from Latin to German. Around 1535, he created the Heiligen Christ, the Holy Christ, to free St. Nicholas from gift-giving. Originally, gifts were given on St. Nicholas Day, but it was seen by Protestants as veneration and then moved to Christmas. The Heilige Christ referred to Jesus. Originally intended to be an innocent spirit bringing gifts, it has evolved over time into an angelic girl with blonde curls, dressed in white with wings. Since this was a people's interpretation and moreover, it was an angelic figure that was already known to the people before the Reformation. Christkind, a neologism from Christ and child referring to baby Jesus, dem Jesuskind. It brings the gift secretly and undetected, first in the newly Protestant regions of the country, then even though a Protestant creation from the 1800s on also in the south. To make it even more complex, since the middle of the 19th century, der Weihnachtsmann, literally the Christmas man, for you Santa Claus, brings presents in the north of Germany and parts of East Germany, while the west and the south stick to the Christkind. He is a mixture of St. Nicholas and Knecht Ruprecht. We talked about them in the St. Nicholas Day video. Why there is a Weihnachtsmann when there's already Nikolaus, I don't know, but I guess some things we're simply not meant to understand. Maybe there are some Germans from the north or the east watching that would like to enlighten us. As I mentioned in my Nikolaus video, you can send a letter to Nikolaus, but you can also send a wish list to the Christkind or Weihnachtsmann. From the 1960s on, and even more from the 1980s, children started sending letters to Nikolaus and the Christkind. Post office employees responded, which led to the creation of Christmas post offices in towns with names like Engelkirchen, the Angels Church, or Himmelpforten, Heaven's Gates. There are 7 Christmas post offices in total throughout Germany. I sent a letter to Nikolaus this year, and here's the letter I received back. The stationery, reply envelope, and the image of the special St. Nicholas postmark are designed anew each year. Let's talk about food. As I explained in my video about St. Martin's Day, in the Middle Ages there was a fasting period from November 12th to December 25th. People went to Mass at midnight on the 24th of December and then ate during the night. Traditionally, carp was eaten on Christmas Eve as meat was not permitted at the time yet due to fasting. Over time, this custom evolved into potato salad with sausages after midnight mass because it wasn't a very heavy meal. Therefore, according to a Statista survey, 34% of Germans still cite potato salad as their Christmas dinner. This is also a shocker to me, but to be honest though, it varies by region. In my family, we always had some sort of roast, and that's what others do too. 25% eat roast duck and 19% Christmas goose, which is also very traditional. In my St. Martin's Day video, I explained how there was a Martin's goose on 11th of November and the day after Lent started. So people finished Lent with yet another goose on Christmas. Both roast duck and roast goose are traditionally served with red cabbage and potato dumplings. Yummy! Newly popular are the Swiss dishes raclette with 20% and fondue with 11%. Usually, Germans have these for New Year's Eve as preparation times are short and it is just super fun to sit together and spread out the meal over the whole evening. That's why my family has had it several times for the last decade or so for Christmas as well. Fondue. There is cheese fondue. You dip pieces of bread into melted cheese. There's also meat fondue. You dip pieces of meat in hot oil until they are cooked through. And raclette. You melt cheese in small pans, which you then pour over side dishes such as potatoes, vegetables, and so on. Well, my dear people out there, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that the next Christmas video will be more festive than this one.